Hey guys, it's Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms here in the mountains of North Carolina, and tonight I've got something really cool to share with you. Hopefully it'll stay alive long enough for me to make this video. This is a piece of history, computing history. Let me move the camera just slightly, there we go. This is a TRS-80 Model 1 microcomputer system made by Radio Shack. You know how much I love Radio Shack. There it is in all its gunmetal gray, battleship gray glory. The original 1977 TRS-80 microcomputer was one of the first three computers built for the home market. Let me take that back. It was one of the first three mass-produced computers for the home market. Came out in 1977. There was also the Apple II that came out that year and the Commodore PET. And between these three computers, they pretty much started the home computer revolution. Now, obviously, there had been computers before that, the Altair 8088 and the there was just a couple of home-built S100 based computers, but these were the ones that were going to bring this technology to the masses. We didn't have to assemble it ourselves. It was just something you could buy, plug into a TV, or in this case, a monitor, hook it up to a cassette tape deck, and boom, there we were, computing. And we also had the Timex Sinclair and the ZX81 coming in from overseas, but these were much, much more popular than that. As you can see here, this one does come with the original TRS-80 video display, which is actually just a 12-inch black and white television set that Radio Shack had the tuner, the UHF VHF tuner. They removed that. They added this cabling here that made it into a monitor by giving it just the line in for this, and boom, there you go. You're ready to have your home computer. This one has been upgraded at some point in its life. It is no longer a level 1 4K. This is a level 2 12K. There it is. So as you can see, the keyboard works. I did have to do this. Was actually a gift from a neighbor of mine. He knew I was into vintage stuff like this, thought I would get some use out of it, and he was very right. I have enjoyed playing with this, getting it working. I took the keyboard apart, took the unit apart. I had to replace one resistor and fix two of the pads here for the keys. But after that, well, what do you know? Everything seems to be working great. As you can see, basic programming works, just like the old days. This thing also had some interesting functions, and I'll go ahead and raise it up right there, and you can see as Hello World flickers in the background. We have 3 ports and a power on-off switch here. One of these ports goes off to the power supply, and it has a separate brick power supply. Then this port here is going to operate the monitor, the video display. And it does not have RF out, which separates it a little bit from later Commodores and most home computers of the mid-80s had RF out to work with regular TV sets. This one did have just a video display. You could get a converter box to go from here to a box to an RF converter, but from the factory it did not. And then this last one here, this is our cassette tape. It's going to have our record and audio in and out so that we have the ability to load programs off a cassette tape. Now, on this side, there is a user port here, a port, just kind of a card edge, and that hooked to the Model 1 expansion. The little cover that was here is long gone, so I assume at some point in his life, it probably had the expansion hooked up to it. And that expansion allowed this computer, and let me go ahead and zoom back out so we can see what I'm talking about here. There we go. That allowed this computer to be quite impressive for its time. You were able to use a fully fledged disk drive system with this thing. There were kits out here to add lowercase. If you'll notice here, all these are uppercase. So you had lowercase, you had a disk drive, you had expanded memory options, you had a modem, parallel ports, printer ports, things like that. Really turning this basic keyboard, computer, and RAM unit into something much more useful. So it was around for quite a while. This was actually made up until I think 1983, perhaps maybe 82. And when they expanded it to the TRS-80 Model 3, which also shared this awesome color combo, the battleship gray. Now there was a Model 2, but that was more aimed for business use and was not compatible with the software from the Model 1. However, the Model 3 did share the Model 1's software compatibility. There were some issues, but not too many, and it just kind of expanded on that. It also included it in a really cool case. Here's what the Model 3 looked like. Now, I actually owned a Model 4 for many years, a great computer that was also CP/M compatible, and I kind of wish that this line, the TRS-80 Model whatever X, had continued on. We'd probably be at the Model 35 by now, but it would have been something to see. So what I'm going to try to do right here is I'm going to go ahead and reset it. And I am going to, using a modern computer, I'm going to attempt to fake this thing out. I'm going to attempt to trick it into believing that it is actually going to load a cassette tape. All right, so it actually looks like it loaded, so we've reached the end of it here. The next thing you're going to do is put a slash in there, and holy cow. I'm as surprised as some of you might be, but this beautiful piece of historic equipment, let me back this thing out a bit, is working. We managed to fake out a tape deck using a modern, well, I say modern, it's still probably a 20-year-old laptop, but using the audio out from an old laptop, we were able to trick this thing into believing that that it was reading off of an old cassette tape. So let's see, it is a TRS-80 type. Look at that. Isn't that great? Now, I've never actually played this thing, but cool, man. So pretty wild, right? Let's see here. What happens next? I have no idea. Not sure what starts it. Obviously, there's no joystick attachments for this thing, so maybe try pushing some buttons here to see if we can get this thing live. No idea. Well, it says good hunting. We'll see. Maybe it starts automatically. Nope. Anyway, I'm going to back it out. I wanted to show you that works. It's really cool that this thing, even at this age, is still functional. Let me go ahead and power everything down, and I will show you the back side of the main unit here, and show you around the back of this thing as well. So hang in there. Let me just go ahead and pull the plug on all this. There we go. Amazing that technology from this old is still functional. Let me go ahead and unplug some of this stuff. There we go. And I'll give you a better close-up of this now. There's our expansion port that I was talking about that you can hook up to various items with. And that right there is just letting the computer know to activate the functions of that. Over here we have our power on-off switch. There's our power plug. There's our video out, and there's our tape out. What does bother me about that is they're interchangeable, and I worry about what would happen if you plug power into the tape or the other thing. But apparently they must have thought of that, because I wouldn't imagine this thing would still be working. On the bottom here, there's a cool picture of the TRS-80. This one has a catalog number, serial number, and what's really, really cool about this is this over here. Breaking the seal voids your warranty. Let me go ahead and get that close enough that you can read that well. It has a service center dated 11 of 8 of 1982. So that is when this unit was upgraded to 12K and the level 2 RAM, which is really cool. Well, right here you probably saw when it was on. That's our little power indicator, and just a really, really nice old computer. Very cool, very stylish. Certainly different than the Commodore PET and the Apple II. They all had a very unique way of going about doing what they wanted to do, so I really like that. And then, of course, we have the monitor, which is actually just a television set. This is kind of weird. That's a non-removable cable for the video. That was really weird, I thought. Just power on and off, contrast and brightness controls here. If I turn this around, excuse me, it's just straight up a TV set. I mean, March of 1980, so this is obviously not an original 77 unit, but the fact that anything from 1980 is still firing up, I did not have to take this thing apart. And you can see even the molded case. Here's where your antenna would come out. There's where your antenna would have clipped in. So our carrying handle, because it is private. Some more adjustments on the bottom there, vertical adjust and horizontal adjust, and then a place to wrap up the cabling. This was, like I said, I don't remember the manufacturer off the top of my head, but this was originally a 12-inch portable black and white TV. So very cool, very cool. Not the highest resolution, obviously, but functional for what it was doing. The TRS-80 only had, I think, 64 characters across. So certainly not an 80-column screen, so nothing too bad there. And then lastly, I'll show you this. This is the power supply, the brick, TRS-80 brick. A lot of these have gone bad by now. This one, thankfully, is still working. And that was missing from the kit that I got from my neighbor, so I went ahead and purchased one of those off of eBay, hooked it up. Apparently, that brick also works the expansion box. So if you're going to run the module with the expansion box, you would need to buy a second brick. So that's it. It's kind of an unusual video here for Farpoint, but you know, I do love my old vintage computers, and I have another one that I'm going to be doing, a Compact 2 portable computer, which is a 286 era computer, really cool as well. I picked that up at the Shelby Hamfest, so that was really nice. So that is it, the TRS-80 Model 1 And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about that or want me to do another video of it, assuming it's still operational next time I plug it in, I'd be happy to do so. Until then, I am Eric, the owner of Farpoint Farms. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
There's always something that needs a little fixing on Farpoint Farms. Freedom is mighty sweet.